I was raised Catholic, youngest in a family of 5, and I think I had this impression of God being like this judge, and basically just that. And I remember getting in a cycle of going to confession at the Catholic Church like every week, to the point where it was obsessive. I had a friend who's been a friend of mine since probably about grade 5. And he invited me to a Christian summer camp. And at that camp was the first time that God spoke to me. I was just in this cabin. It's like in the middle of the night that all the guys are standing in this cabin. And I just had a seed of a thought come to me, which was the first time that ever happened in my life. And so from there, that was the first time that I ever had God speak to me, where I consciously recognized that that's what was happening. I think some of the wrong impressions that I had of God, I got the judgment of God, but I didn't get the grace of God. You know what I mean? I didn't realize that I lived my whole life basically being controlled by shame. One of the things Pastor Steve said at a time where I desperately needed to hear it when I was first starting to come to Gateway was, we are not sinners learning to be saints, we are saints learning not to sin. And that is like so transformative, because when you actually walk in that, then you realize, oh, I can actually walk in freedom. I don't need to walk with this looming cloud over my head for the rest of my life, of like sin patterns and stuff like that, and just repeated cycles. And actually, I had an experience recently where I was at Friday night prayer at 10 Tom Street, and towards the end, they were talking about the love of God and just receiving the love of God, and immediately my head dips in shame. And someone turns around, just spontaneously, and this person comes over to me, and I think he puts a hand on my shoulder, and he puts his fingers on my chin and pulls my head up, and he says, "God loves you, man." And I just started crying, and my head immediately dipped in shame, and he lifted my head up again, and he's like, "He loves you." And my head dips down, and he lifts it up again. And that is the love of God. When you experience the love of God, it's like, I can tell you as much as I want, but unless you experience that one-on-one with God, like, that's where it's at, right? You can't fake that, you can't force that. It's between you and God. You know, Paul says, pray without ceasing. And that's really what I strive to do every day. Just constantly have the presence of God in mind. That like nothing can separate us from the love of God. Neither height nor depth, nor angels nor demons. Like, nor anything that exists in this world can separate us from the love of God.